How many of you today are facing some things in your life that are tough? How many of you today are facing some things in your life that you don't see the end of the road yet? We all face trials and tribulations because God is either teaching us a lesson or He is giving us a blessing. See, it is our job to take what we're going through and turn it into lemonade. When you are handed lemons, add some sugar, put a little water in it called the living water, and stir it up, and you will have you some sweet lemonade. Everything we go through has a purpose, a rhyme, and a reason. It leads us to be better characters and to be able to fully rely on God, leaving us to navigate through difficulties. This can seem at first insurmountable, as all heard the old saying, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade is more than just a catchy phrase. It is real life thoughts. It is more than a catchy phrase. Take your trials and your tribulations and turn them into lemonade. Rather than allow the sourness of our struggles keep us down in our experiences, let's transform them into something sweeter by making lemonade. Let's turn our troubles, the sourness, into a sweet lemonade. It is easier to smile at this statement than to practice it. It is easier to say we can turn lemons into lemonade than to actually practice it. A lot of us want to murmur and complain when we're going through things. A lot of us want to get down, depressed, and have anxiety. A lot of us will be like, man, I just don't see no way out of this. I don't know what I'm going to do. Have you tried trusting in God? Have you tried counting it all joy that what you're going through, God is working on something in the background? Look, I spent a whole year and a half wondering why God was holding me back. Why God wasn't allowing my finances to keep growing. Why God was only allowing me to make so much money in a year. God was turning a lemon into lemonade for me. Almost $3,000 in debt with the IRS. God cut my income in half so that I made just enough money through the year that I would get a return big enough to pay off my tax debt. See, the whole time I'm wondering how I'm going to make it through these bills, how I'm going to put groceries on my table, how I was going to do all the things that I needed, but I was never going hungry. None of my bills were behind, and I was always able to pay my tithes. God was working in the background. He was turning my trials and my tribulations into lemonade. God was turning my lemons into lemonade. It's easier to smile at this than to practice it. But if you think about it, the philosophy is sound. In fact, we see the Bible that many people who are facing defeat turned into victories. Look at David and Goliath. You think David and Goliath? You think David wasn't facing a trial when he was standing in front? When he was standing in front of that giant. Don't you know you face giants in your life today? In fact, we see so many in the Bible who are facing defeat turn it into victories, and their trials into triumph. Instead of playing the victim, we can become the victor. Let's take a look at the letter James wrote to tell us that we can to become a victor rather than victims. We can become victors rather than victims. Let's take a look at James whether we are facing trials on the outside or temptation on the inside. We can ultimately have victory through faith in God and Jesus Christ. We can ultimately have victory through faith in God and in Jesus Christ. The key to turning lemons into lemonade are based on 4 imperatives. Count it all joy. In James 1:2, it says, "My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptation." In essence, James is saying that we should find joy in bad things happening to us. This is backwards from a normal human response to hardship. James' readers were likely facing poverty and persecution. They were handed a bag of lemons, facing trials of various kinds. We all face trials, but it's how we respond to the trouble regardless of the size, by counting that experience as joy. Look, even if you go through a trial or a tribulation, when you get through it, you're going to see the lesson that you learned or the blessing that God has put in front of you. Count it all joy, because either way, it makes you a better character. Either way, it makes you a better character. Notice that the scripture says to count it all joy when you fall into various trials. James doesn't say if, but when. James does not say if, he says but when you fall. Because as Christians, we must expect trials. We must expect trials. As even Jesus says in John 16:17 through 33. So then said some of his disciples among themselves, "What is this that he saith unto us? A little while and ye shall not see me again. A little while and ye shall see me, because I go to the Father." They say, "Therefore, what is this that he saith? A little while." We cannot tell what he said, and Jesus knew that there were desires to ask him, and saying to him, "Do we inquire among yourselves of that I said, a little while and ye shall not see me? And again a little while and ye shall see me. Verily, verily, I say unto you, that ye shall weep and lament, but the world shall rejoice. And ye shall be sorrowful, but your sorrow shall be turned into joy. A woman, when she is travailed, hath sorrow, because her hour is come. But as soon as she is delivered of the child, she remembers no more that anguish, for joy that a man is born into the world." You know that mama? I know some of y'all are mamas, sitting in that hospital room, having birth. You going through that pain, you like, "Get this out of me." You ready for it to be over, but the moment you hear that cry, you turn that anguish into joy. You no longer remember the pain that you just went through. You all of a sudden are a bundle of joy because you are holding that which was inside of you. And you know, therefore have sorrow, but I will see you again, and your heart shall rejoice, and your joy no man taketh from you. And in that day you shall ask me nothing. Verily, verily, I say unto you, whatsoever you ask the Father in my name, he will give it you. Hereunto have you asked nothing in my name. Ask and you shall receive, that your joy may be full. These things I have spoken to you in Proverbs. He said, don't murmur, don't complain, count it all joy. Ask if you're struggling with something, and allow him to fill you with that joy. That I will pray the Father for you, because he is your advocate to the Father. He will plead your case. For the Father himself loveth you, because you have loved me, and I have believed that I came out from God. I came forth from the Father and came